10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, a daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is February 19th, and we're going to get started here with some really interesting news. Okay, so it's interesting in that this was a source of so much FUD this time last year, like about a year ago. It was the only thing that people who wanted a FUD Rocket Pool talked about. It was the only thing that like the community brought up every week or every few days to try to something to rile against, basically. And that thing is the oDAOs, how much money the oDAO is getting paid. So the RPL token was hitting all-time highs last year, and the oDAO getting 15% of all inflation. And a lot of people, like rightly, said that the oDAO get paid too much, they shouldn't have any duties, etc., etc. And we as a community work together. A few prominent community members, shout out to Val, kind of band together and really sort it out and try to work together to fix it. And what ended up happening is they set up a 1-year plan to reduce the oDAO's pay, and this is what happened, right? And here this post from Langas. This is, hey everyone, as per RPIP 25 RPL inflation allocation, we'll be updating the RPL inflation allocation today. So this was from yesterday, and he said that the PDAO will now get 24.1%, which they were getting that much, and that will go to 27.4%. And then the oDAO were getting 5.9%, and they're going to be getting 2.6%. So this is the second to last adjustment. There's going to be one more adjustment coming up in 2 months' time, which will then take the oDAO's pay down to 1.5%. That'll be a 90% reduction in their pay, according to what the price was, the beginning of that in terms of RPL inflation. So this is now a complete non-issue in the community, and I think it's just a really great testament to the PDAO, and the oDAO as well, all working together to see that there was this issue, a huge area of FUD, and now it's been totally fixed and it's all gone away. So that was a really cool thing, and I really wanted to start the episode with that because I think it's quite positive that this plan has worked so well. Okay, next we've got some questions here that the community was kind of asking. So here Samus was saying, probably we'll talk about some of this at ETH Denver, but it would be nice to have somewhere on the DAO forum that tracks. And he says the EIP is relevant to Rocket Pool and the expected Ethereum upgrade inclusion name, and when that upgrade is expected to go live on mainnet, and the RPIPs currently being worked on, and any EIPs they're blocked by, expected RP upgrade name, and when the upgrade is expected to go live. So basically just gathering some information about timelines and a roadmap. And then Samus says, obviously the further away, the dates are more vague they could be, and things may change, but that seems like a helpful thing to track, update on a regular basis. He says, we had the Medium article, but relying on writing articles seems like it would waste time, and also articles can become outdated, inaccurate relatively quickly. So Samus then says, what do you think about this? And Val says, the RPIPs are being worked on, there should be drafts, and then there's a RPIPs page. He says it would be a tiny enough change to allow required EIPs to be listed alongside required RPIPs. This is expected timelines are different animal. We've discussed meta RPIPs for such a thing. So then Samus says, there's a website, didn't know that was a thing. Maybe a column could be added to the RPIPs to know if they depend on the EIPs, that's Ethereum improvement proposals. And then a tab could just be added for the next upgrade. And it says add a tab for upgrades, could include historical, for all that. So then, there was this idea going back and forth of kind of having this timeline in place, right? And then Langas got involved. But actually, Val here says, we should do better at having a roadmap somewhere. So I guess the only roadmap we have at the moment is the Medium article that covers Houston and a little bit of what's going in Saturn. And then Langas got involved, and he says, I've been thinking of this as well. The roadmap is somewhat in flux at the moment, but we can have a page on the website that evolves over time. And then Val says, I think a meta RPIP per release might be a good place for it. Might make sense to have some different ideas with tiers of likelihood to be included. And then that's kind of like the discussion that went there. So I think this was a really cool discussion because this kind of information, I think it would be really helpful for the community to have, because right now there's so many different ideas that are kind of being floated about, and nobody really knows what's going to be included and when, and what the timelines are for them to be released. And there's a whole lot of speculation from the community about what's going to happen when. So I think having this place that, the team and the PDAO work on together to try to get all the information gathered up and covered would actually be a really nice thing for the community as a whole to kind of cover this and get the information out. So it'll be really interesting to see how this develops. And of course, I will let you know when I have more information about that. Okay, next we have something really interesting that happened this weekend. So the deposit pool had space in it. So Jasper says, it's been a long time, but there's space to mint rETH again, stake.rocketpool.net. So at that point, the screenshot, there was over 1,000 ETH worth of space in the deposit pool, and there was space there for you to mint it. So what had happened is the premium went down to pretty much to zero, like as in there wasn't any premium in the secondary market for rETH. So that meant that, as the people were spinning up validators, then there was space in the deposit pool for people to mint rETH. And this is something that doesn't happen very often nowadays. So Jasper put out the tweet and he says lasted an hour or so, and then there's a screenshot of a whale splash where someone deposited 1,783 ETH and minted rETH with that. So that was pretty cool. Like that, it looks like there's still demand for rETH to be minted. People just don't want to buy it in the secondary market for whatever reason. But this is really cool that that gets filled up so quickly. So let's have a look a little bit at the deposit pool website. So as you can see right now, there's space for around 65 ETH in the deposit pool. This is what I meant about there being the premium not being there. So that little bit of space can remain. And if we have a look, the last few minutes that have been coming through, there have been some decent sized ones, some smaller ones, and that's all pretty good. But if we have a look at the daily inflows, like there's been some days where the deposit pool's just been full all day, and there've not been too many new validators coming online as well, so nobody's arbing it, and there's just 2 or 3 deposits in that day. And then there's other days when we get a couple of thousand, like yesterday, then we had like 1,995 ETH deposited into the deposit pool. And then if we have a look at the weekly amounts, we kind of hover somewhere between like a low thousands, and that's kind of where we're kind of stuck at, because there's just no space in the deposit pool. And on the monthly as well, like when we have a good month, it might go up to like some tens of thousands. Like in December we had 50,000 ETH in there, but normally it's like the low teens, like 15,000, 8,000, 18,000, etc. Gone are the days of last April, May, and June where everything was kind of like wild and amazing. But hopefully those days will return again soon, I hope. But and then if we go back to the Discord over here, there's a bot that just shows you that the premium amount right now is for rETH 0.003 premium. So there's no premium there. So it just shows that the secondary market right now isn't too hot on rETH. However, of course, you need to pay attention to other tokens as well. So Lido's wrapped STETH has a discount of 0.28%. Swell SWETH has a discount of 2.88%, and Coinbase's CBETH has a discount of 0.36%. So the rETH is still at a premium. It's like right at peg, and that's for better or worse. So yeah. Okay. On Friday's episode, I kind of told a story about the person who stole the mnemonic of someone from a node operator and was trying to steal all their crypto from their node. Patches here tells the story, so I'm going to tell you guys the story. He says, "Alright, it's safe to tell the story now. On Tuesday, a user appeared on Rocketpool Discord support channel to ask if they could get their ETH unstaked if the withdrawal credential was a smart contract. I asked if it was Gnosis safe, and very suspiciously, they replied that it was Rocket Minipool Base, the proxying contract used by all minipools. I asked if they could Rocketpool node status to check their withdrawal address, which is where the funds go to the mini pool contract. In the end, this is important. And he says they replied in a way relying on complete ignorance of Rocketpool, another red flag. My thinking immediately switched to, well, this makes sense if they fished in the mnemonic, know nothing about Rocketpool, and just looked at the 0x01 credential on an indexer and accused them. It says the person became belligerent. Lululo, another support nerd, managed to trick them into giving the address of the validator and found the node address. We were pretty sure the node operator was about to have their node wallet drained. Disturbingly, their withdrawal address was unset. So their node was their withdrawal address, which I shouldn't even be a thing anymore. Like, they should have to change it. Anyway, Patches goes on to say, we set about looking at their web of wallets on Etherscan. The suspicious user refused to verify their identity with that wallet that had originally funded the node, and then they were banned from Discord. He says, I sent a brief message to the funding wallet saying, this Patches from Rocketpool, please get in touch with us discreetly ASAP in support on the Rocketpool Discord. And he says, while we waited for a response, our fears were first assuaged by some action matching the suspicious user's story about needing to get their funds out. The validator started exiting and the funding wallet started sending ETH tokens to Coinbase. This didn't last long. This is a few hours later, the node wallet was drained along with another wallet loosely connected to the user. A few hours after that, the balances were withdrawn via KuCoin, which notoriously lacks KYC. It says, when the node operator never replied to the on-chain message, I sent the original tweet. That was asking the node operator to get in touch with him that I covered on the show last week. It says, long shot, if you're this person, reach out to me and blah, 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 I can help you avoid catastrophe. So at that point, there were 8 hours until the beacon chain withdrawal was processed. I wanted to wait as long as possible to not draw attention to it. If the scammers knew what they were doing, they could have set the withdrawal address of the node and it would have been over. And then Patches says, there were still 8 hours to use a Flashbots bundle to set the withdrawal address to a safe wallet. The fear being any good scammer will use a sweeper bot. So without a bundle, any fund sent to pay for gas, I immediately swept. While the node operator never reached out, but it was okay. He says, in the end, we witnessed the newly unstaked ETH get sent to Coinbase along with the unstaked RPL. Presumably, the scammers did not have a sweeper bot set up. And said, Patches says, this node operator was saved by the incompetence of the scammers. You won't be so lucky. Make sure your withdrawal address is set. This is a fundamental piece of information. If you are a node operator on Rocketpool and you don't have a withdrawal address set up, that's really bad. So please go and set your withdrawal address. Make sure there's a hardware device that you have control over. You've literally got tens of thousands of dollars of crypto secured on your node, and that's vulnerable. A hardware wallet can cost you less than $100 now. Like, it's worth paying that $100 to have that level of security for your node. So I replied to Patches saying, couldn't there have been a scammer sending the stolen crypto to cash out using Coinbase? It might be they were in control of stolen credentials there. And Patches says it's very unlikely they will exit through KuCoin and Coinbase. The node's time zone was set to New NYC, so the node operator would never use KuCoin. A scammer would never use Coinbase because it's KYC. So the Patches, I wasn't quite sure how to interpret Patches' answer here. I was still kind of suspicious about which wallet had control of the amounts. However, Hululo actually did something really cool. He went digging, and he said, I just looked. The 8 ETH went to the same Coinbase deposit address as the 17 ETH from the funding address. So basically, what had happened is it was the person whose node it was withdrawing it back to their own Coinbase. So it looks like everything is okay, and yeah, thankfully, it worked out okay. I think the person only had 1 ETH or something like that was on their node wallet at the time stolen, but not the whole amount, which thankfully, would have been really bad if that happened. Okay, next we got this update from Samus. He says, made some updates on the tokenomics proposal to simplify, mainly introducing the idea of base commission and bonus commission for node operators. So this is Samus's his cohesive plan, and he's just kind of tweaked some of the language and tweaked some ideas of what the different kinds of commissions are. And there's this cool image here as well of like different kinds of money that's coming into the protocol and to the node operators, and some of that going to a pot of gold, and some of that pot of gold going to different people, like distributing certain ways depending on what you're staking and how you're staking it. So it seems like these these cohesive visions are getting more and more refined. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some more people writing theirs and kind of sharing them with the community. It seems like a bunch of them have like the same ideas, at the root. So that includes, bond reduction, that includes some kind of RPL, ETH only validators, that includes some kind of universal variable commission, and that also includes some kind of like MEV protection, or here, Samus has a node operating, poor node operating protection from poor node operators, so like inefficient ones. So this is really cool. If you want, you can, if you haven't read it yet, go and give it a read, and as I come across any others, I'll make sure that I cover those on Rocket Fuel also. Okay, next we got this update from the Morpho intern, and this is actually really cool. It says the rETH wrapped ETH market on Morpho Blue has some early liquidity. You can borrow wrapped ETH at 0.31% against rETH collateral, and rETH is staking APY is around 2.64%. It says you do the math on a leverage staking position. This is the kind of thing that we were waiting for last year to come, because basically what happens is, depending on the loan to value ratio that Morpho will give you, I think it's normally like 0.9 or something like that, 90% basically. What happens is that you can deposit your rETH and get a loan in wrapped ETH in return, use the wrapped ETH to go to a secondary market or the deposit pool, mint more rETH, take that rETH back to Morpho and do it over and over again. And you can do that, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, depending on your risk appetite. The more times you do it, the more likely you are to get liquidated if there's a depeg to the downside. And basically the reason why this wasn't profitable on Aave for a while was because the cost of borrowing the wrapped ETH was so high that it wasn't a profitable strategy. But with Morpho here, the difference is basically 2.3%. So if you were to do this 5 times, you could make like 10% APY on your rETH. And of course, this is really risky, and I'm not advising that you do that. But what I'm saying is that there's the possibility here of someone doing that now and basically making some really good money. So if you're interested in doing that, then check out Morpho. They're really growing up and coming DeFi protocol. But of course, as always with DeFi, I've never used Morpho. I'm not giving them any kind of endorsement. I'm just saying that this option is available to you if you want to pursue that. Okay, next we got some posts from Patches here. He says, I wrote down some thoughts on the future of Sprocketpool if anyone wants to be bored for half an hour. And then there's a link to GitHub, so let's go have a look to see what Patches is saying. So first of all, he says, what is Sprocketpool? So Sprocketpool is the engine that powers sp.sprocketpool.net. So this is a website that lets you track smoothing pool rewards. It lets you track a whole bunch of different things like that. Actually, let me just see what it looks like if we click it. Yeah, here you go. You can see like some of the different rewards intervals that are coming in. It's kind of like a custom Grafana dashboard where you're seeing, what's happening with the smoothing pool and reward stuff basically. So that is really cool. Here he's got some ideas of what's coming next for it. So he says, right now there's it's comprised of an Ethereum client pair, which is Get Nimbus at this time, Beacon Chain Proxy, and Beacon Cache Proxy, a smart node fork that optimizes tree generation, a Docker container and cron, Amazon Web Services S3, AWS Lambda, and then a whole bunch of other things in Grafana as well. So it says every 6 hours, cron triggers a Docker container run. That container generates a tree, preview tree using TreeGen built with the smart node fork with those optimizations. When the preview tree is done downloading, the container uploads the tree, the minipool performance file, and logs to S3. Changes in the S3 bucket trigger Lambda, which passes the TreeGen artifacts and loads them into the Postgres. I'm not sure what that is. And then the Grafana instance is publicly accessible with the link that we just checked and displays the metrics. The API is publicly accessible as well. and there's information, and offers an endpoint for node operators to look up their pending rewards. So that's how you can put your address in and find out what rewards you earned and what rewards you can get. Then Patches talks about the different improvements that he's thinking of making to Sprocketpool. About he says the service is pretty hacked together, and like there's some easy questions and hard questions, and there needs to be changes made to the calculator for RPIP 30 and a whole bunch of other things as well. So like Patches says, if you want to be bored for half an hour, you can go and give this a read. And I don't think it's boring at all, but it's just a little bit outside the scope of this video. But if you've always been curious about how Sprocketpool works and how Patches might want to make it better, definitely go and have a look. Patches will tell you. And then in the research thread, he says, using this as the closest thing to an R&D channel that I think we have. And then he shares the GitHub, and he says, I'm looking for feedback on this document, largely to see how useful people find. I think the suggestions will be, if there's an appetite to go down this road, it would be a big project, and upkeep would not be the cheapest, but I think it would be useful building for a whole ecosystem of services. And then, Joachim had some feedback, and then I'm seeing, no, there wasn't any other feedback. So if you want to give Patches some feedback on this, you're welcome to dig into the doc, play around with the site, and then I'm sure Patches will be happy to get any feedback about that. Okay, next we've got this nice little story, well, kind of sad, kind of nice, from Big Stirp, who says, hello, is anyone from support on here now? I have a question about tokens bought in 2021. I bought coins when Rocketpool first came out. I can see the coins in my wallet, but there's no value with them, and I can see RPL with 0, so did I miss a migration? So basically what this person did was they bought the version 1 RPL tokens that were not designed for staking, and of course if you want to run a validator, then you had to move your tokens to version 2, and the bridge would be there forever, and that's kind of what happened here with Big Stirp. And basically he never migrated, so his wallet was telling him that the coins that he has are pointless. So what happened here, Big Stirp explains that he got sick and he was offline for over a year. He had cancer, but the doctor saved him. So Halulo shared the migration page with him, the stake.rocketpool.net, and then Big Stirp was able to migrate and get all his RPL to RPL version 2. So that's a nice little story. Thankfully that Big Stirp is okay and is in control of his tokens that actually have some value now. Okay, next we got this update from Starknet, like a couple of things that are not directly Rocketpool related. We have this update from Starknet, who are explaining some of the changes that they've made to their token distribution for tomorrow. And they said that, good morning, Starklings, 1 day to go. Those eligible Stark provisions will be live and available to claim tomorrow at 12 p.m. UTC. Check your addresses and to claim. And then there's provisions website. And then it says, we've listened, we hear you all, thanks for your digging and feedback. Community outreach helped us identify a few necessary changes prior to distribution. We're grateful for this input, and we made some important updates thanks to your participation. They said that they had a fix for about 900 Ethereum home stakers with multiple validators who had been erroneously counted with only a single validator, who will receive a total amount of 6.5 million Stark tokens. This is the team at Rated updated their stake classification models this week using input from the community. This resulted in over 6.9 million Stark distributed to 1,000 solo stakers more who were previously mislabeled. And then they had a correction to an issue that resulted in ineligibility of 1,900 GitHub handles that were changed after a snapshot was taken. And on StarkX, a discrepancy allowing custodial company to make claims based on 200,000 users' keys was removed, and a process will be outlined for those users to receive provisions at a later date. These changes are applied tomorrow. One thing that's interesting here is that there's no update about the Rocketpool users and how their provisions have been sent to a smart contract, the mini pool address, and we've not had any update there. So I'm hoping that we'll get some update, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, before the claim goes live, and hopefully we'll all be in a position where we can get our tokens claimed and dump them. And finally, I'm going to give a shout out to Peteris. So as you know, earlier I used the deposit pool website, the Rocket Scan. Well, Peteris actually a little while ago made a Divascan website for the Diva platform, the staking service. And it's really interesting that, for those of you who've been using Rocket Scan for a while, you'll see that the architecture looks the same or very similar. There are a few nice little touches that Peteris has here that are not on the RocketScan website. For example, validators have their performance kind of measured with these highlighted colors. So green, of course, I think is good, and red is bad. So that's a nice little thing that the Diva guys have that we don't. And then there's a bunch of other things here as well on their website that you can go and dig around, and you can see that it looks quite similar to the RocketScan website with a non-orange background. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Peteris for like making good tools, and of course, RocketScan is a website that myself and others use pretty much every day. So on that note, I want to thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all had lovely weekends, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.